Hey guys, so I wanted to go through and talk through the vocabulary for lesson 2.1 for Discovery Ed. Again, if you go into Discovery Ed and if you are in the lesson, so today we are engaged for 2.1, you will see three words as you read through that are they're kind of like bold and in blueprint. If you hover over those words, that will click you out to the definition page. There will be some videos, some pictures and things that will tell you all about those vocabulary words. Today, I'm just going to go through and show you kind of what I expect you guys to have in your journals as we do those vocabulary words. Again, for each lesson, I will go through and tell you at least what words to do. I've done that before and showed you what that looks like from the vocab or from the Discovery Ed side of things. So if you need to, go back and look at those videos from last week, and that should tell you or show you again what that looks like, how those blue words look, and then as you hover over the pages that you will see. If you go to the details section on each vocab word, you will see the definition. So I'm going to talk about the three definitions for your three vocab words for this particular lesson, and I'll show you how I've kind of gone about in my thought process as I take notes on these. So we have three words. They are environment, ecosystem, and organism. And again, this is all going to be my vocab definitions for Unit 2, Lesson 1. Some of these will be the same as we had in Unit 1, Lesson 4, but because this is a new lesson, I'm going to do this just so I remind myself what these words mean. And I'm not going to worry about going through each day if there are repeated ones, but for each lesson I'm going to, so it'll be like a week at a time. So here are our words for this week. So our first words for today are environment. So I went ahead, wrote the word down, underlined it, so I know that that is my vocab term. And then here is the vocab definition that they give on Discovery Ed. So an environment is all of the living and the non-living things that surround an organism. And then I just went through in my head and I thought through what would that look like. So I've got my rabbit here. This is my organism that I'm thinking about. And surrounding that organism, I've got all the living and non-living things that he'll interact with. So for my little bunny, I've got his little burrow that he lives in. So he may live under the ground, or I've got some rocks propped up here with an area that he can live in and have his babies and do all that stuff. So this would be some of the non-living things that the organism might interact with. The soil down here would be a non-living thing that my rabbit can interact with. Other living things that my rabbit can interact with, we have lots of plants. So I've got plants over here. I've got like some grasses that the rabbit might eat, flowers and trees that the rabbit will interact with, and then other living things like plants, or we've got the plants, but like animals. So I have some insects here buzzing around. So we've got living things like trees, flowers, grasses, living things like other insects or other animals, and then the non-living things like water or rocks that the animal will interact with. These are all part of the animal's environment. So that's what I expect you to do. Go ahead and give me your definition, but then do what you need to do to really understand what we're talking about. In this case, I drew myself a picture because I'm a picture person. I think best with images. Whatever that is for you, it doesn't have to be a full drawn out picture, but whatever will help you remember that the environment is all the living and the non-living stuff that an organism interacts with in their environment. An ecosystem is a lot like an environment. So it's all the living and non-living things in an area that interact with each other. So in my thing here, the rabbit may not really interact with the tree a whole lot. It may not interact with the flowers a whole lot. It may not eat the flowers. It may not really go over in that section of the area, but that's still part of his environment. In an ecosystem, everything interacts with each other. So in this case, down here, I have a bunch of organisms that might be living in an area, and I haven't included a lot of the non-living stuff, but I have over here. So soil is a non-living thing. Little grasses would live in soil. A rabbit then would eat the grasses, which would then get eaten by a hawk, and then the hawk would live in a tree. So here are some living and non-living things that would interact with each other in an ecosystem. Because these guys all create kind of like a food chain or a chain of things where things eat, where they live, what they interact with, what they run from, those things would be an ecosystem. a lot like an environment, but in an ecosystem, everything interacts or creates a chain with each other. And last but not least, we have an organism. And you might remember this from our last unit, but an organism is any individual living thing. So I have down here a person would equal an organism. People, a lot of persons together, that would become, living in a single area would become a population, and that would not be an organism. A population, again, it's a group of organisms living in a single area. An organism is just that one living thing. So as you go through and you're doing your vocabulary and your 3-ring binder that you should have, again, I'm in my science vocab section. This is what I expect you to do for each day. You need to have your vocab words written down if they're in blue on Discovery Ed, and we'll go through and talk through those each time we have them. And then any images or anything that will help you understand what they mean. This is what your binder should look like to some extent. All right, guys, hope that helps, and hope you have a deeper understanding now of these words as you go through and are interacting with your text today. All right, if you got any questions, please let me know, and good luck on your questions today.